Well guys, the leaks just keep on leaking, because a couple of weeks ago towards the end of September, we were getting some massive leaks it looked like for Nintendo Switch 2, including some ideas of models of what the console could look like, and just a whole bunch of information about it, which was pretty crazy. And of course, we still have not heard anything officially from Nintendo regarding the console, even though a lot of people are expecting this month. We're still waiting for official word from the big N. But while we wait, of course, more rumors and more leaks are coming out, and this time it's a Gigaleak. I mean, a huge one for the Pokemon Company? Yeah, the Pokemon Company just got absolutely exposed entirely, where a gigantic leak, probably the biggest in history, just came out, where someone was actually able to download files of every upcoming project and past project for Pokemon. This includes previous versions of Pokemon, pre-builds, and even prototypes for some of the games, some lore content including story and some weird human times Pokemon interactions, which I cannot believe, and I'm sure Pokemon never wanted that to get out, but some other weird things as well, and I'm sure there's other channels that, you know, are dedicated to Pokemon where you can actually dive into that entirely. Obviously, I don't really talk about Pokemon here on the channel, so it wasn't a big deal for me with all that information, but it does lead some information for Switch 2, especially considering the fact that we now have a confirmation of the codename for Switch 2. My good friend over at Nintendo Prime was able to put together a comprehensive list of the big announcements of the big things that got leaked, and we have Gen 10 is apparently in development for Ounce, which is in fact the codename for Switch 2, which it's likely cross-gen, but that's pretty interesting. Now, towards the beginning of this year, almost around the summertime, middle of this year, we've been hearing tons of rumors about the codename being Ounce, but it wasn't confirmed until now, where we actually have leaked files suggesting that this game is going to be on the Nintendo Ounce, which is the codename for Switch 2, and we'll talk about that in a second. But we also have Pokemon Gaia as the codename for Gen 10. A brand new multiplayer Pokemon game is in development, and it's being developed by Game Freak and Ilka, and apparently it's something Splatoon-like, at least described in the documents, which is very strange. Is it like a 4v4 Pokemon battle? I mean, that could be pretty cool, where you can actually control your own Pokemon and fight it and do different things like that. So we're just gonna have to wait and see, but that is some really crazy information. We are now confirmed the code name for Switch 2, which is the Ounce. Now, is this really anything that special? Not necessarily. It's a code name after all. But still, we knew Nintendo Switch's code name for a while, being the NX, and we still have not heard anything from Nintendo's mouths about the Switch 2, like not even the code name. So at least we know that now, but does it mean anything? Well, another good buddy of mine, Paul Gale Network, was able to put together another comprehensive list of all the code names for Nintendo's past successors, and trying to figure out what this could mean by putting some analysis on some of the names, and he's trying to come up with some, you know, logic behind each one. So of course, don't take all that with, you know, certainty. That's why it's called what it's called. But here's his list. Starting back from the very beginning, we have Project Gamecom, which was the code name for the NES, and apparently he's saying because it was the family computer, it equals a gaming computer. The SNES's code name was the Super Nintendo, obviously being Super instead of the regular one. For Nintendo 64, the code name was Project Reality, and he makes it seem like maybe something like making Ultra Dreams come true, because of course it was the first Nintendo console to run 3D graphics, so it was kind of like a new reality for Nintendo. Then we had the GameCube, which was codenamed the Dolphin, which he thinks is because it's fast, strong, and intelligent. I don't know, that one might be a little bit of a stretch. But then we have the Revolution for Wii, which obviously is a new way to play, obviously being the motion controls. Then we had Project Cafe, which was the codename for Wii U. He thinks maybe being a social gathering machine, which makes sense because, you know, most of the games were multiplayer focused and focused on family room gaming, where everyone came around the gamepad or used their own controllers and stuff like that. Then of course we had the NX for Nintendo Switch, which he thinks was a cross between Nintendo Home times Nintendo Handheld, which also makes a lot of sense. But what does ounces mean? What in the world could ounces mean for Switch 2? Is next gen going to be under a pound? Obviously not, because the rumors are all suggesting that if anything it's going to be bigger than the current Switch. But what else could ounces refer to? So what could this mean? I have no clue. This is just a codename after all, but I'm not going to say it doesn't have any meaning whatsoever, because it definitely does to Nintendo, as we can look through the files of their past games where they normally name them very likely to one another, as lots of mainline Zelda games games are based off of basic names for guys, so it's a very good chance that there's a reason why it's called an ounce, and Nintendo knows it, but we don't. But maybe somebody out there, maybe one of you guys are smarter than me and can figure out the mystery. What does ounce actually mean? It's something else that makes me worried, and I'm hoping that maybe I'm overthinking things, and maybe you guys can help correct me in the comments down below. But it's the whole fact that only Gen 10 was mentioned for the ounce. In fact, at least what I read, it doesn't look like Legends was marked for the ounce at all, meaning Legends is coming to current console. Now once again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that means Nintendo Switch 2 isn't near. Like, if anything, that tells me Switch 2 is still a ways away, not early next year, because wouldn't this next Pokemon game, Legends ZA, be coming to Switch 2 if it was at the beginning of next year? You also take into effect that we know nothing about this game, and there hasn't been any plans, I don't think, for any type of Pokemon Presents anytime soon, so we probably won't even start hearing information about the game until the beginning of next year, which means the game probably won't even launch until towards the end of spring, maybe even early summer. Now apparently in the files, it looks like Gen 10 could be a cross-platform, a copy for both the original Switch and the new one, so I guess there's a chance that the Switch 2 still releases and then this game comes out a little bit after, but still only releases on Switch 1? That's strange to me. Like, I'm sure you'll obviously be able to play it on Switch 2, but it's Switch 1 focused. And I guess my question is, why would Nintendo do this? Well, obviously because they don't want to abandon that install base right now. I completely get it. But man, that means you're gonna have similar problems that you've had on Pokemon Legends Arceus, where the game just doesn't run great, and the graphics also doesn't look great because it's on current Nintendo Switch. Why wouldn't you take that new hardware, and that would be a banger first year game for Nintendo? I don't know, I just find it weird in my head to see a Switch 2 launch and then a Switch 1 game come out after it. Like, ugh. So part of me really does believe maybe this means the Switch 2 is still a little ways away. Obviously, I hope that's not the case because I think that would definitely confirm a 2025 reveal instead of a reveal this month or anytime this year. Which, man, it's just such a long time to wait. But maybe I'm overthinking things because we do know the Pokemon Company likes to stay with what they've been doing. For instance, we did have some DS games with like Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon and stuff when the Switch was becoming a thing still. So there's a very good chance that that's just all they're doing. You know, Switch 2 still is launching at the beginning of next year, but they want to make sure that they continue to get their sales through the current Switch market right now because they don't want to just abandon that fan base on Switch and just have a Switch 2 exclusive game. I completely understand, and maybe that's just what's happening and I'm really overthinking. And like Gen 10 is just a cross where you can obviously choose which version to get, and then maybe like Gen 11 is just specifically for Switch 2. It's weird though because personally I feel like Pokemon has been suffering with the current hardware and their graphics are just really bad, the frame rate's bad, the actual gameplay and mechanics are laggy and buggy, and it's just a mess sometimes like the last gen. So I feel like they need to just focus on next hardware, on next gen altogether. So yeah, I couldn't imagine them having a version that runs like absolute poop on the Nintendo Switch and then a version that runs like smooth buttery milk on the next Switch. I don't know where I got buttery milk from, but you know what I'm saying. Now, obviously, this was a massive blow to the Pokemon Company, and they've even came out and stated it, and even said, like, yeah, apparently there was somebody that got hacked within the company or something like that. I don't know the whole details with that, but it's actually pretty insane. But we do now know the official name, or at least the code name for Switch 2 being Ounce. So that's pretty interesting, and like I've been saying, Nintendo genuinely needs to reveal this thing, because things are going to continue to leak out. This year, the last couple of years, has just been an absolute leak fest, from Pyoro coming up and Midori, and then tons of games just leaking before Nintendo Directs, and now console leaks with Switch 2 happened last month. At least it looks like some prototype builds and some models came out, so we kind of have an idea of what the console's gonna be. It's just like, man, every month Nintendo waits, it just gets more and more dangerous out there, especially if this thing has entered mass production or is about to very, very soon. Parts and pieces are going to leak. We are going to get information out there, and that is one of the worst things that you could have for a brand new console, is information coming out that's not official, because people are going to start getting their mindset on things and start making their own conceptions over what they see on the internet and say, this doesn't look right, I don't want this, or this looks stupid, or something like that. Nintendo needs to jump ahead of this. I don't know why it's so hard for them to just come out and announce the thing, give us a 2 to 3 minute trailer just showing us what it is, so that way they can calm people's minds. Where this month it might be a Codename leak, next month it could be the entire console. So I'm just saying, if it doesn't happen this month, I don't know how Nintendo is going to get through the rest of this year without a single leak slipping out. So hopefully they stay on top of their game, and I'm really hoping that there's something this month, even though I really do just feel like it might be Team 2025 for a reveal at this point, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. But what do you think? What do you think about all of this? The Gigaleak for Pokemon, does it excite you for some of the games coming out soon, like that multiplayer Splatoon-like game, whatever that means? Or are you more focused on the Switch side of things? What does ounce mean? What do you think it means? And do you think Switch 2 is still coming at the beginning of next year? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.